Okay, ready?
I've been using the backhoe a lot.
Yeah, I bet you. Okay, welcome everyone to our May meeting of the Water and Sewer Commission. Someone would like to make a motion to accept the April 2nd minutes?
So moved.
Okay, sewer needs analysis. Is that going to happen today, Tony?
Yep, we have our consultant on right now.
Okay, we're ready to go.
Hi,
All right.
Justin.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Good.
We're doing well.
Good, good. I do have a hard stop at 5. I don't think what I have to present will be more than 10 to 15 minutes to hopefully leave the other half of that period open for questions, discussion. I do want to just leave open if we do get cut off at 5, I'm more than happy to come back at the next meeting and finish up if there's still a ton of discussion happening. But my hope is to get through most of it here. So I'll try to do this expeditiously. As you know, DPC was working on the sewer needs analysis. I am about to pull up. Actually, it looks like the host just needs to enable the screen share. So I can pull up some slides here. Perfect, thank you. Okay, so we've been working on this project for a while. We spoke with you a couple meetings ago about where things were at. This is intended to be almost a final update prior to issuance of a draft report to the commission. Just want to go through really the remaining items of the scope of work that we did not touch on last meeting. Again, if anybody has any questions, during this, feel free to stop me at any time, Tony or your commissioners there. So this was shown last time, the project scope and the key tasks that we were under contract to look at. The ones in red are basically the ones we didn't talk about last time. And those are the things that, have really transpired between the last time we were in front of you. Really nailing down those conceptual sewer layouts for the sub areas that we were looking at, A through F. Coming up with preliminary opinions of costs to sewer those 6 sub areas. And then really 8 and 9 should be flipped because we did the needs and wants analysis prior to developing the costs. So we'll present that information tonight and see if there's any questions, which I'm sure there will be. So just to refresh everybody's memory, this figure was from the original proposal between DPC and the town. Really, I just pull it up to show you that, in yellow here, not looking at anything specific, but where you see like yellow blobs, that's the existing sewer system, all kind of centered in the map there. And then these larger areas on the outside labeled A, B, C, D, E, and F. That was really our blank canvas for this project. So we were tasked with looking at each of these sub areas discretely, using various sources of information collected, from the Board of Health, GIS, available state layers on, depth to groundwater, soil permeability, etc. We'll go through some of that later on. We were tasked to not only prioritize which of these areas have the highest needs to be sewered, but also which ones, really the costs to do that, and then the costs per EDU or sewer customer. And you'll see that kind of shake out later on. Some of these areas, there's just not, a ton of dense development, areas where, a lot of sewer pipe are going to equate to a lot of new customers. So that just makes the math tough in the end as to how the costs actually get, shared by folks, or however the town, pursues a potential project down the line. And obviously that's, the next step of this and what the town, decides they want to do. But just big picture, that's kind of how things were looking heading into this. We had these 6 sub areas surrounding the existing sewer system, and then looking at available information, topography, etc. We laid out concepts to sewer parcels in these sub areas through a combination of gravity sewer, and pump stations, and also low pressure sewers, which the town currently has in a few areas throughout town. So that's just kind of to frame things. This was our start here. So from there, we tried to lay out, again, like I said, gravity sewer primarily would be the, first best case scenario. So we'd look at topography of the land, see if we could flow everything from, the outside, the outskirts of the sub area that we're looking at, the study area, A, B, C, D, and try to get it all to the point of connection to the existing system via gravity. Obviously, that's not feasible. We used several, guidelines to kind of put up guardrails on our analysis to kind of point us in the right direction of, okay, we have to put a pump station at this low point because in order to continue the gravity sewer, it would be something like a 30-foot excavation to do so. So, using good engineering practice and what's actually feasible from a construction standpoint, we were able to construct essentially a concept where areas would get served, like I said, through gravity sewer, low pressure, and pump stations. So let me just see if I can highlight here. So really, just one area, for example. Again, we can get into the weeds of this later, and obviously you'll have all the figures at your disposal in the final report here. But anything orange here was gravity sewer. So in this case, you could see we had to flow some neighborhoods back to a new pump station. In orange are the new pump stations. So obviously that's a big equation for looking at the costs of sewering a sub area. If it's pretty up and down in terms of topography, well, this, one sub area B, for example, is showing that it needs a combination of 3 pump stations to get it done. So that all gets, factored in and comes out when we look at the unit costs later on. But just as an example, to show you really the difference, the majority of sub area A, although it's much larger and larger lengths of sewer, we only needed one proposed pump station here, maybe a second one down at the bottom of the screen. So again, we took all of these things into consideration as we moved through the sub areas and collected our data. So let me just hit to the next here. So this is sub areas A, B, and C. And the next set is the lower half of the map, the southern half of town. These are sub areas D, E, and F. So again, just showing the conceptual sewer layouts. And we could come back to any of this. Again, I'm just going to continue to go through it. But we laid out sewer, as I said, and we moved to the next step here. So this might make sense just so people have a frame of reference to bring up that original map side by side. So this is really where everything started to come together. So we have the sub areas, we have conceptual sewer layouts. Now we need to go through and actually prioritize these areas. Down here, I just tried to note what we looked at. So we went to the Tri-Town Board of Health. We collected information about past septic failures. There was some other data that the town had provided in the form of some surveys for some lake area residents. So we tried to take all the information related to past septic issues, incorporate that, into the GIS database and spreadsheet models. We looked at lot size in these sub areas, soil permeability, just to tell how well drained the soils are, depth to groundwater, which would be indicative of, being harder to site on-site disposal systems or septic, proximity to wetlands and waterways. Again, the density of the development, so the pipe length per lot served. So again, if you had to run 1,000 feet of pipe to serve one house, that gets factored in here. And that also shows up in the unit cost. Again, number of pump stations, steep slopes, and then obviously town/property owner interest. So showing you just the, total raw scores for the sub areas. We applied a weighting factor to each of the criteria. And again, this will be a point where the town can take a look at in the draft memo and provide some input. But we weighted things differently. So we said, okay, past septic failures, those might be more important than, depth to groundwater, for example. So we applied a higher weighting factor to the information that we thought as engineers was more important or ranked higher, on a factor of 1, 2, or 3. So that's the only difference here between the raw and the weighted score. It doesn't really change the general consensus of how things shook out. If anything, it strengthened those. So the two areas to the north around Stockbridge Bowl. So sub areas A and B, those ranked, I guess it was B and A, the order was switched. So area A came second to area B when we looked at it. And then from there, it was really tough between C, D, E, and F. They all, I'll say C was number 3 here, but the rest of the group were kind of, pretty close together. And you change one weighting factor or a couple of scores here and there, and those, don't take much to change, and that's pretty subjective. So somebody going through this exercise, might come up a few points different. But A and B really, I guess my big takeaway here is those two, to me, not knowing much about the town and what's going on, just from an engineering data standpoint, those really jumped out as being the highest priorities. And you'll see that reflected here. And do you want me to pause here for anything, or do you want me to just kind of get through it and circle back? Is this a good pace?
Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
Perfect. So the next step was then to look at, again, those same sub areas and look at the costs associated with running the sewer, per what we had laid out conceptually. So just to give you kind of the guideline here, the OPPC, that's opinion of probable project cost. So we throw that acronym around. That is not just the construction cost, but that includes engineering and contingency factored into that. So that is what the all up, project costs would be considered based on what we've laid out. So these aren't small numbers. Hopefully it's not too big of a shock to many in town, but, none of this infrastructure work is cheap. But really what it comes down to and what we wanted to show is that by implementing any one of these, costs to sewer these sub areas, well, you have to also consider, who is it serving and how many EDUs, new sewer customers, are you going to get from that? And that breaks down, to a cost per EDU, which is still, some pretty large numbers here, absent of some type of grant or low interest loan opportunity that, the town can pursue. There was a note on sub area A here. I just wanted to bring up that this assumes a couple of non-residential properties are included and connect, into that, which is why that unit cost is so low. If those existing non-residential properties do not connect, it's probably closer to a similar number to area B in that $50,000 to $60,000 range per EDU. Again, I should caveat that, the total cost here is, again, everything that we laid out. So, every stick of pipe, every manhole, every pump station we've shown on these conceptual layouts. It's not to say as you move forward into preliminary design and final design of any of these in the future that you may eliminate, maybe a side street here or somewhere it doesn't make sense. So some portion of it. We didn't look at, individual segments. We looked at the sub areas on a whole. So there are ways to kind of redefine the scope and have like a sub area within these larger A, B, C, D, E, Fs. So I just wanted to bring that up to say that, those costs are reflective of everything in those boundaries for those areas. So that was the costs. Yeah, I might as well just get through the rest of it here. So the one engineering task that is left on our end is really just to look downstream of where all of these connections have been proposed to go into, just to make sure that receiving sewer has enough capacity and there's no issues to receive, obviously, the new flows from what was proposed. That is really the last engineering task. We already have a draft memorandum started absent that section. So once we go through that exercise in the next week or two, I'd say another week after that, we'll finalize the memorandum and we'll get that to the commissioners. That will include our recommendations, which obviously you've seen some of tonight, and a proposed implementation plan to consider. Step 3 is really going to be really the most important part. And sometimes, the hardest part for communities is to identify some type of funding and finance strategy that makes sense for the town, whether that's a combination of USDA rural development, state SRF, any, local financing that's available, et cetera. So that's really the next part, is to find out how to make this affordable for those that need to bear the costs. Once all that information is in your hands, obviously we're going to be looking for your input back on that draft memo. And then really it'll be on the town to kind of decide what the next steps are and maybe start to coordinate with some of those property owners in those sub areas of interest for potential next steps down the road. If there are next steps, what we see those being, just to kind of give everybody the bigger picture here, if anything transpired. So again, define the limits of an intended project. So, say you've selected sub area B and you really wanted to move that one forward. You really want to define the limits within that. So again, we looked at that entire area sub wholesale. You might want to break that down and, maybe phase projects, do portions of it, etc. The whole thing doesn't have to be, constructed at once. So once you defined the intended project, then you kick off a preliminary design phase. That's where actual detailed survey would come into play, soil borings to determine the extent of any ledge or rock, to really help refine that OPPC or opinion of probable project cost that was developed. It'll help obviously refine the pipe layouts and the number of lots served based on this, early desktop analysis. You really get to define that and better know, the real numbers there. And then again, like I said, the most important thing, updated costs, and then unit cost per EDU based on going through a preliminary design. Once you have that preliminary design, it's a lot easier to go through the funding and finance strategies and approach some of these funding agencies once you have, more of an almost shovel-ready project. Again, like I said, whether that's local, SRF, USDA, or a combination. And then obviously the big one is town appropriation. Obviously any construction project, will typically have to go through a town meeting vote. So that would be one milestone. And then it really kicks off into the final design, the bidding, and the construction of the project. And I show this really just to say that, even if you said go tomorrow on any of this, the overall timeline from today, if it was a go, is approximately 3 years. So I kind of outline this to show, folks who may not be in the industry or know how long it takes to design and bid and construct things these days. Could it be done in 2 years? Yeah, it probably could. So it's probably in that 2 to 3 time window there. So I went through that pretty quickly. Again, I apologize for that, Tony and the board, just given my 5 p.m. hard stop, but I'd like to kind of open it up and see if you wanted me to touch on anything while you have my time. And again, I'd like to come back at the next meeting and just finish going through this. And at that time, you would have seen the draft report and you'll probably have more detailed questions to go over as well.
I just have a couple of quick questions, or I don't know if they're questions. I wanted to make sure that if there's people out there listening here or on Zoom, that the numbers that are presented currently are the areas at a whole. We did the same thing when we did our project in 2002, 2003. We took, I think it was 12 sub areas because these were included as well. They were a little smaller and, did the whole analysis. Then we condensed it down to where, more feasible lineal footage for our money kind of came into play for price per foot. So, I know that, people are probably, if anybody's watching or whoever's watching says, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. I just want to remind people also, since 2005, the world has changed and prices have pretty much doubled, whether it be materials and stuff. So, we're looking at this as the whole thing. That's what we asked them to do. So, it can always be shrunk down or whatever. I just want to make sure people aren't thinking that is what it's
Right.
That map is set in stone. It can be condensed. Correct, Justin? Correct?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I really wanted to drive that home. So thank you.
You mentioned it. I just wanted to back up a little and make sure that we made sure people realize that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I didn't want, I'm glad you reiterated that. That was a very important point, is that was the entire sub area. Yep.
I think what we need to do now is just get copies of that and then start going over.
Yeah, let them finish it up. Let them get the report to you guys.
Yep.
On paper copy where you can thumb through it and.
Take your time, look at it. Yep, scan it. Right.
But I just want to make sure that everybody realizes out there and here that this is what we asked them to do. We asked them to do a complete needs study. So that's what they gave us. It can always be condensed. We can park it. We can do whatever we want with it, but here it is.
Yeah, this is what we wanted.
This is what we wanted. This is what we asked to get done.
Yep.
This is Beth, if I may speak on Zoom, because then I'm going to get off after this presentation. Thank you very much for making these meetings open. And I'm Justin, I live down in Lake, I'm the president of the Lake Drive Association, which is section 1 along the lake. I am the one who did the survey of our residents and submitted it to Tri-Town and to the group here. Because so many of our septics have failed, and many of us have put in, advanced recovery jetbacks because we are by the lake, but those will only last for 20, maybe 25 years. And I've been living here 20 years now by the lake. So this is all very, very important to us and for the lake. So I appreciate the town taking the time to really study this, and thank you. I look forward to what's going to happen. We'll see.
Okay. Thank you. Is he coming back on?
Justin done.
I don't think so. I think he's there. Justin, you're still there, right?
Oh, I'm here. Yeah. No, if you guys have anything else you wanted to go over, I'm all ears. I expected worse.
No, I'm fine with where we are right now.
Okay,
We'll get the reports and then we can study it and then we can move on from there.
very good.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate the study. Thanks.
Yep. We'll keep working on it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Justin. I appreciate that.
Okay. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Okay. Good. Final report on the Park Street station.
You ready?
I should have had some
Okay, so
minutes or something.
I should have, I probably should have copied you guys on the latest work schedule. This is this week. Well, I'll start with last week, 5:2 to 4:30 to 5:3. The Berkshire Gas hooked up the moved old, I guess, used generator. That's all plumbed in and ready to go. Our electrician subcontractor, Elm, continued with his electrical work. The station is currently hooked to the grid, and they're just making final connections in the cabinetry and stuff for things to operate and to have in a startup. The pumps are installed in the wet well. The phone line will be installed tomorrow, which will be able to provide us alarm activation and things like that. So when we do start up, I want everything to be as
Ready to go.
as it will be when it's normal. And to do that, we had to wait a little longer. There was talk maybe we could run on a generator while we did the startup, and I don't want to do that. I want to be on the grid. I want to have the backup power available for the case of a few more days now. I think we all can wait a couple more. I can at least.
Yeah. Hey, this long.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, once all that happens, the official startup, I was down talking to the electricians today. It's not the owner of the company, but he's scheduling startup for either late this week or early next week. So we should have water pumping into that force main. And once that is done, the day after the startup and everything is, everyone's happy with that, then they will demo the old station. They'll switch the flow back and demo it. So.
And then what are we going to do with the landscaping, Tony?
Well, as far as the new station?
Yep.
Mike Canales was telling me that the town got some kind of a grant well, I mean, our contractor will loam and seed and grade and everything and, do final grade. But as far as plantings, that's to be determined, whatever the town wants to plant, whether it's the Park and Rec Commission, Sewer Commission, both of you combine, get together with a plan on what's going to get planted around the fence to probably hide it. Up to you. But Mike Canales was saying that the town did get some kind of a grant for tree planting. So we should be able to save some money and not have to do it through the contractor. So at the end, maybe there's some cost savings there.
Now, what did we plan around the other ones? Arborvitae?
There are arborvitaes. Unfortunately, they provide quick cover, but they grow so fast, they're hard to contain.
Yes, they do. They do take off.
They do take off. So there needs to be some thought there. And I think Park and Rec wants to be involved with that too, as well, to make a decision.
We'll go.
But let's get there.
Yeah, let's get.
And, we're close. We're very close. And, I know it's been a long road but, I took the side of the fence that there's nothing the things that were slowing us down were out of our control. So at
Exactly.
the end of the day, we're all going to be friends at the end of the project still. So that's a good thing. The town, the contractors, you can't, you know what I mean? I know it's been a lot of reports and a lot of questions, and it's been on the agenda for almost a year, but,
We'll leave it off next month. Okay,
so I should be happy to report next month that we're online.
okay.
That'll be the final report. That'll be the final report.
I'll put final. The Beechwood manhole locations, have you and Marky still been working on?
We have not, since the last meeting, we haven't gotten back up there.
Okay.
Things have just, we've been taking out and putting back in, our pumps that have been going down to Springfield to get redone. We had a gearbox that we lost at the plant. It took us a week or so to take off and reinstall. Just things came up and we haven't gotten back
Okay.
to answer that
Is
question.
that going to be ongoing, Tony?
Yeah, no, we want to get the manholes, the locations defined.
Right.
And then after Labor Day, actually dig up and, raise them up. So that's going to be something that's going to be an RFP going out. And it's going to be included in the special article money that's labeled sewer line repairs.
Yeah.
So part of that money will go for that.
At the town meeting?
And then I'm working with Shaq Gottlieb, who's the president of the Beechwood Association, Maintenance Association. And their engineer is Foresight. And they are going to talk about all this at their July meeting. They have a yearly meeting with all their residents up there to let them know that, once we do this this time, the town raises them to grade.
Yeah.
They're going to have to come up with some kind of construction measures for
That's
their
it.
grading that we don't lose them again. I'd like to be able to,
Do you have a number, how many we have up there?
there's 40 plus.
40.
Yeah.
Okay.
Substantial amount.
40, yeah. And a dirt road, yeah.
Well, yeah, and then there's the fingers that go off and there's a network of infrastructure up there. And, it's kind of a forgotten area until you have a problem and.
Well, it was because that was the first area we did and
Yeah.
it's, everything's fine. So
And it's becoming less seasonal with people that are building houses and used to, back in the 80s, it was a seasonal area.
that's all it was.
Very few people live there year round. And now, with this, sewer went in, times have changed, people build, whatever.
Well, yeah. Okay, good. Water samples, you just continue doing that?
Yep.
You started
Last month, we went out and we'll be doing them all summer till November. GZA has been coming up and they came up and we went out 2 weeks ago. And then they come in July and they usually come in November as well. They come 3 times a
No,
year.
whose boat you use?
We use Chuck Corher. He lives in the outlet.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not your boat or. Marty's boat.
No. Chuck brings us out. It's actually, that's Rick and Terry Emelini's brother-in-law. They live in the outlet there and they have a pontoon boat. They basically take us out.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good. All right. The cat and dog fountain and water trough, actually,
The cat and dog fountain is done. I think the guy that redid it is coming back this week from Boston. He stays out in Boston for the winter. And he's coming back and Tony and I were talking with Huey about it the other day and pretty soon we're gonna be opening that up, I'm sure before Memorial Day weekend.
Is the fountain in there already?
No, we gotta get it from Sonic at the studio,
Oh,
bring it and set it and then plumb it.
Because the cover's still on it, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, and then the horse trough, on the end of Elm Street is over in Richmond with Vern Tower. He's doing a repair on that. Which we don't really have any date on when that's gonna come back. It's gonna be, it might be this summer or fall. I really don't know when it's gonna be. We haven't really heard any definitive date on that.
Okay, the groundwater recharge is, that got back to us at
No.
all?
No, not a word from him.
Okay,
I mean, some more calls and emails and just radio silence.
yeah, busy. Kristen wanted us to change the meeting in July from the 2nd to the 16th.
Yeah, so we have the commitment.
That's what it is, yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of vacations we usually don't sometimes do August with vacation times and whatnot, so she wanted to make sure the commitment was able to be signed and approved by the board, and then they can go through with the billing. Because the first week, it wouldn't be done. There's no way the first week in July then we'd have to wait till the first week in August, which sometimes we skip. So when we go out and read the meters towards the end of June, that'll give them time to work through the meter readings, and then the commitment will be ready for approval at that meeting date.
Okay, so we will make the meeting July 16th instead. Okay. You sent us something about the Masstown Forest Conference that they want to show what we have done in the forests around the lake, and I just put it here because I think it's a great thing that we get recognized and you get recognized for
Yeah,
the
so-
work that we do with forestry and replanting.
Yeah,
I think
with
it's a
all the
great idea.
replanting that Jeff's been doing, our forester, Jeff Jordane's been doing up around our watershed at the reservoir. DCR oversees all that stuff we do with the cuttings, the plantings. And they have an annual kind of field day every year where they go around to like 4 or 5 different locations. They'll have, school bus type thing with 25 or 30 people in each bus. I think last year they did it in Ashfield. They go around
they did.
certain different areas in the town and where projects are going on that DCR are overseeing. And they want to do it up at the reservoir, up on the watershed where we're doing a bunch of planting. So that's when I passed along the email, and obviously the select board has been very diligent on trying to plant a lot of trees around town, trying to plant 1,000 a year, I think. So we put a big dent in that number. We try to do 200 to 300 a year.
Well, we're designated as a green community, and that's part of it, isn't it?
Yeah. So, it's gonna be a good thing. I'm not sure of the date, but, they'll be going up to, Quiet Knoll, I would imagine, and walking up the log road to where the plantings are going in. So,
it's pretty up there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be good.
I thought when I did the agenda that we were going to talk about there's an issue with people wanting to hook up to the existing water and sewer at their residence if they're going to have like another building lot. And
It's on my agenda.
it's
Yeah, it's on our agenda. It prints on the next page.
On the back.
anyway,
Anyway, it is on your agenda.
I was gonna give Jen a right. Okay, so anyway, Mike, you want to explain
Yeah,
this a
so we
little
had-
bit?
we've
Because
got it.
this is something
We've had a
addressed.
couple, 3 different recent instances where this has happened where I met with a person last week that has a situation where they want to build another house on another building lot that they own adjacent to their house on a dead end street. We have a water main that's down the road a little ways. They want to tie in to maybe their line, or they want to run a line down where our water main ends, just down the road a little bit. And the water main can't really go, there's no other houses that can ever be built up there. And we've had instances where we've seen it a million times from the old days when, one water line goes and then three houses get built and then the water line goes out of one basement and they're all daisy chained together out of that house. I don't think we really have anything in our rules and regs that say you're gonna build a house on a separate building lot. You need to put your water and sewer services off onto that lot, not daisy chain it off. If you own both building lots, 20 years down the road, 2 years down the road, you sell it. The water line breaks, it turns into a fight. Somebody turns the water off in a basement, the house doesn't have water. We've had a lot of stuff happen like that over the years.
So you want to make a bylaw change or
And there's
something?
three things that just popped up recently, with this whole situation. And
Sure.
it's something that we might want to just I can look into other towns, see what they do. I know Great Barrington, they allow 1 meter per property, one water meter. They don't, well, we want to meter this and we want to meter that. And I don't know, basically, you got a building lot, you run your services off whatever is available. If there's water, sewer, or just water, you run it on your property, not off somebody else's property. Kind of a case by case thing, because there might be certain.
Some language that said,
Yeah.
that said.
It's been an unwritten rule.
Yeah.
Let's,
We
but
have allowed it.
there is.
But it makes
So,
sense.
so how are we gonna progress? Do you want to investigate
Yeah,
something
yeah,
first?
we'll
Because
come up
obviously
with-
we're in favor of
Sure.
that. So now we need some.
Put it on the
some,
agenda for next month and we'll
Yeah.
try to get some data from
It
other
just makes a
towns
lot
and see
more
what-
sense to do that
Yeah.
and not to do the daisy.
Yep.
We can always bounce it off town council and see what
Yeah,
they
because I
think.
think because we,
No, I mean-
we definitely want to have that as a bylaw.
Sure.
We just want some proven language
Yeah,
that essentially says each dwelling unit
Right.
must have its own service.
Yeah.
We should take a look at the language and see what it says.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Mike's going to do.
So you
We need to
look at
find
the
some.
language.
Yeah.
Need to find some, do a little bit
Yeah.
of cut and paste with
we
it.
have rules and regs that I've typed up that have been, through the years, we've added some things and I can email them around again.
Yeah.
There's nothing on here that.
Rules and
pertains
regs
to
are a
this.
lot easier to change than bylaws.
Yeah,
anyways.
yeah, it would be rules and regulations that the board.
The bylaw has to go to town vote, right?
Yeah, our rules and regs are set by the board.
Yeah.
So we changed the rules and reg,
Yes.
whereas if it was a bylaw change, it has to go to the whole
No, it
town.
would just be a rule and reg that the water and sewer commissioners
That we
enforce.
propose and vote on in a
Just like the
public
rates.
meeting.
Yeah.
It's just like rates and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be good. We'll get that on the books. Okay, Tony, any concerns?
No, just, data, we've been, as I mentioned a couple meetings ago, the plant's aging. Expect budgets to be tight. We went up a little bit with our budget this coming year and thankfully we did, for the FY 26, I guess it is. Things are unexpectedly happening, if you will, out of our control down there.
Well, our plants are, 20 some odd years old?
38.
Yeah, 38. There you go. Yeah, 30 years, 38 years. It is hard to believe.
And 2026 will be 40 years old.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty decent plant down there for a 40-year-old plant.
Right, and along those same lines, what about training more people that can ultimately let these two guys retire someday?
And that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
we need to train them.
we got Marky and Marky, is he going forward with different certifications?
He's not too much younger than me.
So you need
Yeah.
much younger people.
That's true.
Yeah.
And that, we talked about that and
The DEP's on us for water.
it's, everybody is in the same boat.
I mean,
All these water and sewer departments.
can't say we didn't warn you. Let's just say that.
Yeah,
So I know we talked about it when you warned us, but nothing's changed.
Yeah, we just, I
No
think
one in the pipeline?
the next budget, this time next year, we need to really start thinking about when the proper time is. And if we find somebody with no licenses, it's gonna take, for just the water alone, it's gonna take quite a while to get them those
Certified.
certifications. So,
What's,
and I don't know if I mentioned this, the DEP gave me some statistics I was floored by. With our treatment plant, since it was built, is rated at a treatment 3. It's a grade 3 water treatment plant. There's 3 of them in Berkshire County. The next closest one is Westfield. So they're graded by the technology that we have in the plant. It doesn't matter how big you are. It's the technology that you have to learn process control and all that. The passing rate for the T3 exam is 7% of people that take it pass it. And so there's us and Lee that are grade 3, and there's North Adams. And then the next over is Williamstown. Westfield. So I was shocked.
7%.
7%. It took me twice to get it, but that was 25, 28 years ago or whatever it was. But, yeah. And then, then you got to go grab your wastewater license too.
So how do these people begin to go forward to get license and certifications? Do they take coursework? But if they're taking coursework and stuff, can they work in the plant at all or no?
Oh yeah, you can be an operator in training and come in with not a thing.
But you're limited to your
so we
duties.
should be hiring? Is that what we should be doing? The town should be?
I mean, it's not only,
But it's a coin
the
toss.
trouble
because-
is, it's a whole host of stuff. It's not just the licenses, it's learning the field work. There's a lot to it. It's,
46 manholes in Beechwood, 25 miles of water main and 2,500 valves out in the system. There's a lot of stuff. There's
There's
tons of infrastructure for 3 people.
knowledge that you guys possess.
That not only getting the,
how you get it.
But I think what we're getting at is or what John's trying to get at is, could we hire a
Trainees.
trainee that has absolutely no experience, or somebody from another part of the state that has that license, and work them into our system?
yeah.
The only thing that there is an issue with that is if we spend our money and we train this person,
We could
and then
lose
when
them.
we can lose them in Williamstown, Westfield or whatever, it's a coin toss.
Yeah. That's the
only
big
thing
thing
I
is
have
the
an issue with.
responsibility. I've talked to a lot of my sons, my boys' friends, and you're on call 24/7, 365. People don't want anything to do with it.
Don't
Want anything to do with it. And then the other thing is that we have to realize is that, okay, most likely Tony will be the first one to retire. And then Mark and I are there. And then if we don't have a trainee that has the licenses, they can't work the weekends in the treatment plants because one person runs both plants. So they got to get all those licenses before they can work a weekend.
In relief.
And then in that instance, Mark and I are working every other weekend rather than every third. So it's a big deal.
Untenable.
Well, I think, John, we definitely, next budget, next year,
Yeah.
we have to really look at it because you had the number already that you're thinking about.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna, I haven't decided, but there's a few years left at least.
Yeah, yeah, but you have,
I haven't put a date on it.
but you have sort of a number, and I think we really got to look at this.
Yeah, even trainees, just to have, just to have some warm bodies.
So the Mass Waterworks Association and Mass Waterworks, New England Waterworks is there's a lot of surveys going out, which I'm a part of, to do a internship trainee type rotational basis, trying to get young kids involved. But in the flip side, you look at us, for instance. I've been here since I was 14. I've been, full-time this is my 32nd year. People get in these jobs and they don't leave. So there's not like a real big turnover where somebody can just get out of high school and go, I'm going to go get all these licenses. And then try to find a job. It's, when you get into these municipal jobs, most people stay because there's very good benefits and.
Right, so there should
Yeah,
be.
But these days,
Plus
no,
attracting
No, that should
somebody.
be the carrot.
Yeah, I mean, that's a plus.
Yeah,
We
so.
just have to be able to find these people who want to be trained.
And like Tony was started to say, not only do you have, the person's got to go get licenses, there's 700 sewer customers, there's 750 water meters and all those customers and miles of infrastructure that they kind of need to learn. The GIS system needs to be mapped and updated all the time. There's a ton of stuff. And it can be a little daunting, I mean, we've been doing it so long, it's just second nature to us, but somebody coming into this field might just, when we first toured water plants, when we were looking, we walked in and we were like, what are we getting ourselves into? It was like walking into a NASA building, like you had no idea, but it's, it takes time to learn it all for sure.
But yeah, I think time flies.
And it's a ton of responsibility. You're dealing with DEP and EPA,
Oh,
sending
there's
clean water out to the
reports.
rivers, and you're sending drinking water out to.
It's a
town.
responsibility for sure, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what a lot of people that I've kind of talked to, like, they don't want any part of that. It's too much for them, I guess.
Well, maybe we should be talking with people, with a different perspective.
Yeah, and when you get into these training, these internship type things with Mass Waterworks and whatnot, you're gonna have people that are gonna be interested in. They're gonna wanna maybe jump in with both feet like we did when we jumped in.
And also,
Maybe that's one of the ways to start something like is do get an intern. We could work on something like that.
And these interns get paid to do while they're
That
working?
needs to be.
the trouble with
Yeah,
that.
you have to pay interns.
Yeah, we have to make it
There's-
attractive.
There's no way, there's no way if somebody's.
Yeah, it's not gonna waste his time.
But see, another thing too is that in the high school now is, Sean Flynn and talking about Monument,
Yep.
they're working more and more with kids who aren't going to school, aren't going to
Oh, I'm
college.
gonna go to college and get a
And,
degree that serves
there's a
them nothing.
lot
Yeah.
of good jobs
Sure.
out there,
Yep.
as you know.
My boys
with
went
your
through
boy.
it.
Yeah, and maybe through Sean, maybe we could get someone too, some kid who might be interested in this. So that's another thought
Yeah.
that we could do.
Yep.
And he's working with a network, not only Mymet, but this whole area of kids who aren't going to college.
Yep. Yep.
'Cause that's a new push that they're
Are
doing.
the plumbing unions, electrical unions acting as filters? Are they blocking a lot of these?
I don't think, I mean, that's a whole
Processes.
different, the plumbers need the water to come from us to get in the buildings to plumb, and they need the wastewater
Yeah, I
systems
mean,
to send the dirty water back
Seems to me
out,
that
so.
they're probably constricting it just to keep the need high for themselves.
I think they're,
I don't know if they would do that, John.
No, I don't
because
either.
We're
Issuing
looking
license, I
we're
know,
looking at union.
I know. I'm just asking. I don't even know because I think there's a shortage of, the upcoming. I mean, I have a plumber who says he doesn't have any more, he's having trouble getting people to work for him.
Everybody has.
Everyone has.
Everybody.
Restaurants are closing.
Yeah.
They can't get
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a sad state. A lot of people don't want to work. Bottom
Well,
line, they don't want to work.
If that's what it is, then we should look elsewhere for people who want to work.
Yeah,
So I think that's a good idea.
Anyway.
I just
yeah.
have a couple little things. Thursday, we have a cybersecurity assessment with the DEP and EPA. We have a SCADA system. There's been treatment plants that have been ransomwared. Towns have had to fork out 500,000,
Yeah.
750,000 to get their SCADA systems back so they can run their treatment plants. They did it in Florida a few years ago where they ramped up caustic
Really?
feeds and were trying to poison people. And we have all that capability. We have all that stuff. So we are doing.
The insurance inspection we're having?
No, this is a cybersecurity assessment from CISA, which the DEP is making everybody do. If you have an HMI, which is a human machine interface, which I can run the plant from right here. So we're gonna do that Thursday. Should take about 30 to 40 minutes. We do have dual authentication. We ramped up all that security stuff last year with our SCADA people. And the only other thing I have is we'll be setting a flushing schedule pretty soon and probably take 3 weeks and
Hydrant flush.
yeah, it's right coming up this month. So
No, we gotta do a robocall on that?
yes, I'll do a robocall to the whole town and just say the next 3 weeks, we're gonna be, might even do it Friday, maybe Friday afternoon and just let everybody know we're gonna be flushing when we can during the working hours.
Good.
And I'll shut loops down, so the fire flows will be, a little different here and there, and I always email the town. Mike Canales and the selectmen and obviously Vinny, so that everybody knows.
That brings to mind one other thing that I forgot to mention to you guys along those lines. So our phase 4 is winding down, and one of the last things is the sewer smoke testing. And they're going to be conducting that next week, so we'll be putting out a robocall as well on Friday, as well as going door to door on Wednesday and Thursday this week in the first area. Our engineering people will. So to make sure that everybody knows, the fire chief will know and be on standby. It's a non-toxic smoke. It shouldn't enter your home if your plumbing is correct.
And this is gonna,
It's going to commence next Monday.
and this is specifically to check for what?
Excuse me?
I.
I&I. Yeah, it's part of our I&I study.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if the smoke comes from the street, you got a leak somewhere.
No, so
It comes out of a storm drain.
yeah, but we don't know where it's going to go. I mean,
Okay.
it should be a trap in your home through your toilet or your sink, so it shouldn't allow it to get into your house.
Right.
If it comes out your gutters, we know they're connected to the sewer with no trap. So
Or your sump pump.
Yeah,
to be determined.
that's one way to check on that. You can do that check.
Yeah, and since I worked here, I've never seen one conducted, so I'm interested to see how it's going to go down.
Yeah.
They actually don't use smoke. They use a liquid that creates,
No kidding.
well, it's not they don't let fire. And, it's some kind of a pump sprayer that injects into the stream.
And it doesn't have an odor?
It reacts with water
Yeah.
and it puts off some kind of smoke.
Sounds great.
It's non-toxic.
Actually, I can't wait to get the results of that. It'd be very interesting to see parts of town that,
Watch around the red line in.
yeah.
Well, we know that, we expect that.
Well, I missed last month's meeting. I am sorry I missed it. What was the outcome of the red line and
We haven't gotten there yet. We're working towards that.
Not on our agenda.
Yeah, so.
Like email this letter to you guys?
I think they got it already.
You got it.
Yeah.
You see it. John, did you?
I didn't get it. Do you have a copy of it now?
I
Not-
can make you later.
Oh, you could say, yeah, okay. Whichever, you can send it to me.
I move that we adjourn for the month.
Second.
Okay. On fair to you, the